Well, when you gave me your copy of the book, I was, because it dealt with His Majesty, I said, let me see what he has to say.
Yes, yes.
Because I know that many people falsify his name,
Yes.
I said maybe he's one of them.
Okay.
Well, lion voice, tell them that's the people first choice. Lion voice, make the lioness them feel nice. Lion voice, with the lion cubs we sacrifice. Lion voice, got to show the people them the life. Lion voice. Well, for unto us a son was born and a child was given, and the government shall be upon his shoulders. And his name shall be called the Wonderful Counselor, Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. Them call him Rastafari. When he was born, rain fall from the sky. Them call him Rastafari. When he was grown in airplanes he fly. They call him Rastafari. The lion break the chain, weep not, don't cry. Them call him Rastafari. Read the Revelation chapter 5 verse 5. Then born near the city of Harar, the inspiration for Bob Marley's guitar. People crowd him like some big superstar. It no matter if England or Cote d'Ivoire, no matter if you're brown or black like Qatar. Haile Selassie I end all tribal war. A time fi gather Mount Zion, fi drive solar car from the car straight to Zanzibar. Who we are, the sons of Rastafari. When he was born, rain fall from the sky.
This brings us again to the book that I wrote. You are an author yourself. What made you take time? This Rastafari lawyer from Jamaica comes to you with a book for you to read and forward. Why would you, at your distinguished position, help this young man?
Well, when you gave me your copy of the book, I was, because it dealt with His Majesty, I said, let me see what he has to say.
Yes, yes.
Because I know that many people falsify his name,
yes,
I said maybe he's one of them.
Okay.
Well, when you gave me your copy of the book, I was, because it dealt with His Majesty, I said, let me see what he has to say.
Yes, yes.
Because I know that many people falsify his name,
yes,
I said maybe he's one of them.
Okay.
And so I went through the book, and so it was completely different from that.
Yes.
So it was the background that you wrote, what you know about His Majesty,
yes,
about his contribution,
yes,
and based on facts
yes,
that you have gathered. And I said, well, if this is somebody that I should encourage.
mm-hmm.
And I was honored that you asked me to write this little background.
And I was honored that you accepted the invitation. One of the things that I did, and the history is very gray in terms of the scramble for Africa. A lot of the book dealt with the concept of this rise of the priestly warrior king, which in itself could be controversial. I use that term, the priestly warrior king, because one of the things I noticed with Tedros having a monastery education, Emperor Johannes, who was very involved, Menelik, all of them were very involved in trying to, kind of strengthen the church, and their concern to me was almost a priestly level of concern, and then the emperor being the head of the church as well. in Ethiopia. But they were all also warriors. We have to be frank. They all had to shed blood. They all fought on the battlefield. In the case of Tedros and Johannes, they were rebels at one time. So it was a challenge because with the current political climate, for example, Menelik's southern expansion into the Oromo, the RC conflict, there were some brutal conflicts. I tried to be very, to note the battle for Harar, many lives were lost, a lot of these people. And yes, as a Pan-African, I would rationalize it by saying, had it had not happened, they would have fallen to European powers, and Menelik had no choice. However, I'm also sensitive to if that is your family that is, meeting this army from the central government, that's of little solace to you. What do you say, and how did you feel reading this sensitivity as an Ethiopian, someone who's not from Ethiopia, writing about these sensitive topics? What kind of feelings did that elicit, or what?
The truth is, in my opinion, that when you have very many tribes living in one part of a country,
yes,
that sooner or later you interact.
Yes.
And that the idea of keeping you separate apart rarely happens, if at all, rarely happens.
Yes.
And that's exactly what happened in Ethiopia. In Ethiopia, the Amharas, the Oromos, the Tigres, the Gurages, and the others intermarried.
Yes.
And we're one people. When you come to ask who was your father, who was your grandfather, and you go back, at some stage, somebody it all comes to different tribes.
So we're dealing with cultural distinctions.
You're dealing with culture and the cultural intermix, but instead of encouraging this cultural intermix, some people are trying, to make sure that you try to demystify it.
Yes.
And this is dangerous, I think, for the future of a country that was to be independent and strong.
I think, and I would agree 1,000%. In terms of the book, were there anything that jumped out at you, or did you learn anything from reading the book, or was it all things that you were familiar with?
No, I like the book. And the reason why I like the book is you are not afraid to say when certain things that were written were wrong, that they were wrong.
Yes.
And why they were wrong.
Yes.
And this kind of a statement coming from an African or from a world citizen or somebody with a world view, I think is something that I want to encourage very much.
Yes.
And that I hope that in the future that people will make sure that Ethiopians have now an international dimension.
Yes. And I try to put the Ethiopia struggle in the global context. I wrote about Otto von Bismarck in there. I wrote about Leopold and these guys who, in the distant capitals of Europe, influence. There's a whole chapter about Italy and the designs and the Treaty of Uchali, and the treachery, that the Italians tried to do with Ras Makonnen and Emperor Menelik in terms of the Amharic version and the Italian version being different.
Yes.
Which we know later led to Adwa. I don't deal with that in the book, but the second volume will deal with the Battle of Adwa. But I try to, one of my the things that I miss when I was reading about Ethiopia is that it's always separated from Africa. Almost like it's in its own world. And we know that it was it was a shining light for the Pan-African struggle.
Yeah.
It was the epicenter.
Yeah. And that was done intentionally.
Yes.
Europeans wanted to isolate Ethiopia from Africa.
Yes.
They wanted us to feel that we are like Europe, who are like a white man,
Yes.
white black man. It doesn't work, it's a contradiction. As a matter of fact, Ethiopia,
Yes.
especially the emperor, played a crucial role in the unity of Africa and in the oneness of Africa. It is, I think, when you read how the OAU was formed
Yes.
and what role he played,
Yes.
and how the newspapers from Europe, the BBC and others, were trying to discourage it, and how the emperor was outsmarting them
Yes.
by holding the palace not in the hotel, but by holding the meeting in his palace,
Okay.
which they didn't know.
Okay.
They knew about after the meeting and the decision has been made.
Okay.
I think he played a crucial role, and that's why I feel that it does pay. It is true to say that he was a Pan-Africanist,
Yes.
and he made a crucial contribution.
And you would say he's a proud African.
He was a proud African. Yes, yes, indeed.
And a few more questions before we seal up. Did you ever have any interaction with Empress Menen?
Very few,
Okay.
very few. It is true when she comes with the emperor,
Mm-hmm.
she will always, we bow and we talk. But by the way, she was also a very strong woman.
Yes.
And she opened the Menen school,
Yes.
and she asked other people to open other schools in Dese and other places.
Okay.
And
This
so
is
she
the
did play, she
capital of
followed,
Wolof. Yes.
she followed her husband very well
Yes. Yes.
in that respect.
Love and honor always to Empress
Yeah.
Menen. Did you ever see Togo or any of the other lions in the palace? This is the Lion Voice vlog. That I call
Yes.
You did.
Yes.
What was that like as a young man?
Oh, Mohammed, that's something that you want to see, not too close. The emperor loves animals.
Yes.
He loves
Speak about
animals.
it. The
Yeah,
love for animals.
He loves animals. He loves children.
Mhm.
That's probably why he's strong in education.
Yes, because of the love of children.
Yeah. And he's very humane,
Yes.
and that just doesn't come
Okay.
very suddenly. So he has that characteristic.
So how was the lion in the palace? This is something we always want to know. Was he walking around freely? He was chained up, or when you saw
There
the lion?
are a few animals, definitely a few. There is a special place guarded,
Okay.
and you see them roaming in that guarded place.
Or garden.
Yeah,
Okay.
guarded.
Or guarded.
Guarded,
Okay.
yeah,
But they were
yeah.
in cages.
Cages, yeah.
Okay.
cages.
And what about Togo? Because we see this picture of this lion sometimes in the palace just around.
Yes. He's sometimes it's difficult to bring animals and put in a modern place because
Yes.
the people, not all were educated,
Yes.
but not all know how to cage them, how to bring them together,
Yes.
and how to keep them safe and peace.
Yes.
So they could be dangerous. But His Majesty's, dog
Yes.
is characteristic. That's something that everybody knows. When you see that little dog,
Dog Lulu.
then His Majesty is around.
It's a joy. And let's talk a little bit about your work. Can you tell us a little bit about your book and how we can find it?
Well, my book is on the history of Haile Selassie I University.
Okay.
So, in a sense, if you wanted to see how modern, not how higher education developed,
Yes.
first the traditional church education,
Yes.
from ordinary alphabet to the reading of the Bible, David's Psalms, and then the famous Ethiopian author Yared
Mhm.
and his chants.
So that was a church education.
That was a church education.
So the Psalms of David was part of the church education.
Definitely. I was a little bit worried that many of our young people did not know on the foundation of traditional education.
Yes.
And so I wanted to be sure that at least they know what that is. So I have a strong chapter on that. Otherwise, on the development of modern education, that's really the history of His Majesty, in some sense. Because he is the one who started elementary school, secondary school, and then colleges. And when he opened colleges, they were all systematically opened to serve the country. For instance, the first college he opened was the University College. That's an ordinary general college. But then he started opening a building college. And he said, I need a building college because I wanted that building college to research and teach my people on the materials to build their houses, because they are living now in the little tukuls and they don't know how to build their houses. And we need to contribute to that development. Then he went to the health area, public health college. He opened public health college. He opened an agricultural college. And then he opened a spiritual college. It's not like any other place, spiritual college. And then once he had all these different colleges, he says, now let's get them together at unified one university. That's how Haile Selassie I University
so the colleges were connected.
Exactly. So I wrote about this background.
So would you call Haile Selassie a master planner?
Oh, he's a master. He is a visionary.
Yes,
he's a visionary. He has some vision, and his vision, you have to know exactly what he means. Sometimes when he speaks, if you don't know the Amharic language, sometimes is tricky. If you don't know exactly what he means, you could mislead him.
Could you give an example?
He say because the language has 2-3 meanings sometimes. The words have 2-3 meanings. And so you have to assume contextually which meaning he meant.
And was he a hands-on leader, or did he lead from just broad instructions? What was your experience at the university?
Well, for me in the university, he rarely interfered in the internal affairs of the university. Rarely interfered. The students, of course, at one time were really getting a little bit out of play. The so-called communistic orientation somehow, but he managed it very well. He didn't try to push and hurt the students. That's one incident. Students used to call him even sometimes bad names, and he says, "Well, forget it, they're children. They will come to know when they grow what that means."
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm not going to keep you any longer. I just again want to thank you for all your contributions to the book. We've been getting a good response from the people we have been showing it to. So, do you have any final words that you would share with us?
I wanted also to thank you for the effort you have taken to write a book, at this juncture of history. History has to be made.
Yes.
It just doesn't happen.
Yes.
It has to be made, and people have to choose what they want to make a contribution. And the history of His Majesty is one that needed to be written. Many books have been written, but they're all biased. In one way or the other, they are biased. This one is a book that's really balanced. That's why.
And people might be surprised, because when you see the title and you see the cover, it looks very much like it would be very one-sided.
Exactly.
But I tried to, really balance the history, knowing what we know now. And this book was started over 10 years ago. But, thankfully for things like COVID, and we could sit down and finally edit And I would mention you read it twice because I gave it to you once and then I gave it to you again.
Yeah.
Some time passed and some changes. So I really am appreciative for the hospitality you've shown me. You've shown, you've opened your home to us and your family. And it's been a pleasure interacting with them. And we really, from all of the Lion Voice family, we really wish you all of the best and many, many more decades of life, health, and prosperity.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate very much your contribution. I hope that you will get encouraged to keep on writing because you are still young.
Yes, and I've already started volume 2.
Good.
So while I'm in Ghana, I will be working on volume 2.
Good.
Which would take us from 1893 up until he was given the title of the Dejazmatch.
Okay.
So we'll cover the Battle of Adwa.
Yeah.
We'll cover the death of Rastafari, and we'll cover Empress Taitu and the back and forth. Rastafari was married to her relative for a little while, and a lot of things happened in that period.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward. Although there's still not a lot of information about His Majesty at the younger ages, but we'll fill in the gaps as much as possible. Are there any, because I want to encourage physical reading of books, are there any books that you would recommend?
Well, there are some books, but some of them are in Amharic.
Okay, and your book is in Amharic as
yes,
well,
my
right?
book is in Amharic, and there is another book here, which just came. It was written by Brata Marsihazen.
Okay.
It's in Amharic, unfortunately.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is
It's on His Majesty.
Okay.
Yeah.
1922 to 1927. So I will have to learn Amharic before I get to this period. This is going to be.
Some books are coming out slowly now.
Yes,
Some of the younger people are beginning to appreciate their history.
Yes, and I definitely want to get a picture of you with the book. But other than that, I think
thank you.
We're finished here. I just want to say this is the Lion Voice video vlog. Like and subscribe. Share, spread the news. We are going to be writing a lot more. We're going to be sharing a lot more. And this is a pleasure when we can reason with our elders and we can listen, sit at their feet, because you are a walking archive. You are living history. How many people can say they were born before the 1930s, and still here today in this computer age? You've seen, a whole age come and go, the industrial age into the digital age.
That's true.
That's true. And it's amazing. And you're still live and you're still sharp.
That's true.
So I just want to say, let the words of our mouth and the meditation of our heart be humbly and truly accepted.
Thank you. And congratulations again.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Blessings.
Thank you.
All right.
Lion Voice. Lion Voice. Well, for unto us a son was born and a child was given, and the government shall be upon his shoulders, and his name shall be called the Wonderful Counselor, Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. Them call him Rastafari. When he was born, rain fall from the sky. Them call him Rastafari. When he was grown in airplanes he fly. They call him Rastafari. The lion break the chain, weep not, don't cry. Them call him Rastafari. Read the Revelation chapter 5 verse 5. Then born near the city of Harar, the inspiration for Bob Marley's guitar. People crowd him like some big superstar. It no matter if England or Cote d'Ivoire, no matter if you're brown or black like Qatar. Haile Selassie I fi end all tribal war. A time fi gather Mount Zion, fi drive solar car from the car straight to Zanzibar. Who we are, the sons of Rastafari. When he was born, rain fall from the sky. Rastafari, when he was grown in airplanes he fly. Then Rastafari, the lion break the chain, weep not, don't cry. Then Rastafari, we do Revelation chapter 5 verse 5. Royal governor from the age of 13 years, leave the palace, fi go back in a school with him peers. He's the head without fear, he's one to be revered. When them call his name, then the heathen scare. Plus the priest concerned, and him teachers concerned. Cause all this little youth want fi do is just learn. But he wait his turn, till him turn the Dejazmatch. The people rejoice when him crown as the Rastafari. Rastafari, when he was born, rain fall from the sky.